Oh, hey there. Welcome to the Ope-Eh Three-Way Pro Wrestling Podcast. Joined this evening by my buds Donnie and Pierce. This is Brandon speaking. Hey, fellas, how we doing this afternoon, evening, whatever you want to call this here time of day?
We're going. I'm going. Getting ready for a
Hey,
nice
guys, man,
long
Chris here.
Canadian Thanksgiving weekend.
What do you guys got to give thanks for up there?
A lot of things, honestly, but not
Well,
having
like,
it.
what's like the event that like prompted you guys have like a little sit down with your natives up there too, or
Yeah.
what?
I mean, I don't know why. I actually don't even know why there's a variance between the US date and the Canadian one. I'm actually going to look at it up now because that's an interesting question. Why is Canadian Thanksgiving in October?
We're gonna have a little history lesson here, Pierce.
Apparently, just the government. We followed what the UK Thanksgiving was. So you guys deviated from the English.
Lame.
Naturally, I mean,
So you guys had to be the edgy, different ones. We stayed the same.
yeah, you filthy
Traditional
Commonwealthers up there.
Mayflower.
Apparently, also because we're further north, our harvest comes sooner. So
That one makes sense.
I can
Yeah.
understand.
that's what Google says.
Perfectly understandable.
So there you go.
Well, how can Google be wrong?
Right.
I've
Well,
never
I'm
seen
doing
it
good.
wrong.
Hair's getting crispier. It's feeling like fall.
We had opening night in the NHL last night, boys. I don't know if either of you guys are.
Oh
Donnie, I
yeah,
assume you're a little more like,
yeah.
I don't know, Pierce, about you.
I was watching some hockey, watching Corpusalo get blasted by Florida. Feels good as an Ottawa fan.
Man, that was crazy. Like, they were running away with it for a while. I was
Yeah.
watching it last night when I was out the line dancing, and I was amazed. I was even more. There's a lot of crazy shit going on. What was it? Max, dude on the Bruins just smacked a zebra with his stick or something.
Oh yeah, I saw that slash. That was
Did you see that?
stupid. Yeah, I saw
I
that.
couldn't believe that shit. I was like, wow.
Guys just not paying attention. NHL guys are too loose with their stick. They think they can just slash whenever they want. And
You just wave their sticks wherever they want to with no
yeah,
consequence.
well, he got a 2-minute minor in a game that was already over basically at that point. But
Yeah, I just gotta get the edge out.
yeah,
And
but yeah,
congrats to the Utah Hockey Club too. Hey, getting their inaugural win over the Blackhawks.
yeah. The Blackhawks suck, so I'm
I
not
mean,
surprised.
yeah, I mean, not to say much about the current day
Donnie.
Blackhawks, so, but I mean, any inaugural win for a hockey club, especially one coming from out of Arizona of all places, and then into Utah of all places, like that, I feel speaks some sort of volume.
So one of my
Oh,
buddies told
Anyway,
me that first. No. We got one more thing before we go. We're not going to bridge it away from that just yet. So that hockey game that they had in Utah, their beer sales from that night, from last night, beat any beer
mhm.
sales they've ever had for the Jazz in the history they've been in that arena. So
Interesting.
but you know why, right?
why?
Because they're all Mormon out there. Most of them don't drink.
Except when they're watching hockey,
Except when they're
apparently.
watching hockey. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, those are them
So,
Canadian Mormons.
so I imagine hockey is a much more like alcohol-friendly sport than basketball is. With basketball, you got to kind of like follow things. Granted, not like hockey isn't a pretty swift-paced sport in its own right, but
You
then
got to
like when you
stare
add in the
harder.
fights, yeah, you got the fights that break out every now and again, the crowd pleasers, got a
I think
little
it's because
more.
it's colder, right? So you want to stay a little bit warmer. You get yourself some brewskis.
Sure, yeah, stands to reason.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna argue with that logic.
Any logic to have
Okay.
more brewskis is fine by me.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, it's good logic on my part too.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming on. We got a little bit lighter of a show than we've had the last couple weeks, but We're going to review Bad Blood, all whopping 5 matches that happened on Bad Blood. We're going to talk about the upcoming Wrestledream pay-per-view and the opposite of 5 matches. I think there's 500 matches on that card. And then, we'll just see where the rest of the evening takes us. So follow us on socials. That would be Facebook and X, as usual. Posting some content here, everywhere. Getting these shows out once a week for you guys. Hope you're all enjoying them. And Pierce, let's kick us off with on this day. So what happened on October the 9th at some point in history?
We got quite a bit. 2000. Commissioner McFoley finally finds out who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin, and it was Rikishi.
Oh,
That mystery was brewing there for a bit.
you
The Rock.
you get the best one-liner out of that. I did it for the Rock.
Did it for the Rock. I did it for the people.
I still
just
say that
doesn't
to
make
this day.
sense.
I still say that to this day. It's like when something happens and someone's like, "Why did you do that?" I just reply, "I did it for the Rock."
You want to do a swerve, and I understand that, but Rikishi just it didn't make sense. You know.
So now, sorry.
No, go ahead, Brandon.
No, I for the longest. So for clarification's sake, like, did you guys take that just as a standalone line, or was that kind of like the line you say when like you did something outrageous for like crack? Because when I hear he did it for the Rock, like you can bend that to where it's like,
Oh God.
if you're having a bit of a fixin', you know, and you're down on funds, you might just run a motherfucker over for some crack rock. Like somebody somewhere might. I'm not saying anyone in our listening audience might. I'm not saying I would. Certainly not. Never me. But someone out there.
Not where my brain went with that one, but that's okay.
Okay.
No, Brandon, you took a real hard left turn.
Oh boy!
I was going to say
Is
down
this
Main Street,
back-to-back
but you
weeks?
really went down a back alley.
2 out of the last 3 weeks you've done that.
Yeah,
Just go
that's
way
probably
out
where you
there,
get crack rocks from.
brother.
Was it really so out there, man? I've been pondering that for years. I guess I never really went to the forums to kind of get my own clarification on that. But I mean, since you guys are arguably, you know, the two who I discussed this subject matter with, not crack particularly, but you know, wrestling, I was like, what do these guys think about it? You know, since we brought the line up, I figured now as good a time as any to get some clarification.
Did you forget that Dwayne was in the ring when he said that?
Yes.
No, I certainly did not. No, and I figured that there was an inference. I just thought that like the meme, the funny, came from the fact that you could like make a double entendre of it and be like, and right, if you want to be like Donna or apply it to any situation outside, be like why you do something like that? Like I did it for The Rock, and like in a more general sense, like we're not all doing it for Dwayne.
Rikishi is not Tyrone Biggums.
I mean,
it could be a lot of things. It could be The Rock, like the football, you know, like you know, when you want the ball, you do something stupid. It's like I did it for The Rock.
I mean, I guess
maybe you
if you want to use your imagination.
Canada, maybe you're a Newfoundlander. That's also called The Rock, and when they say why you did something stupid, and you say I did it for The Rock.
Well, I don't know about any of the Newfie jargon, so I guess it's good to know now.
There you go.
I know one. They call martinis martoonies.
Martoonies.
Hey. 2 Martys.
All right, we're gonna skip past Rikishi now, like they did for his push.
Well, okay, that was like a push attempt. We're just gonna go at it just a little bit more. Like they were trying to push him, right? Because like the only spot that I see Rikishi in highlight reels, I see him in 3 spots. One is doing a stink face. One is dancing with Too Cool, and one is him falling off the cell when the Undertaker dumps him into a back of a truck.
Well, he did a superfly splash on somebody from the top of the cage too.
That is not the scene you ever end up seeing. You always see the scene where the Rock or where the Undertaker throws him off.
That's true.
It very much was them trying to push him as a heel, and they just it was a bad swerve. They could have just said it was Triple H. They went into the feud with Triple H, and later they said, "Oh, I paid Rikishi to say that because I'm the game, and I really hit you with the car."
Oh boy.
I think that was.
Well, the sledgehammers just don't do the job anymore.
But yeah, it was just it just didn't make sense then. It doesn't make sense now. It was a bad attempt to swerve the audience, and
Well, Rikishi did actually kind of, lay some groundwork for maybe something stuck in the Rock's craw because, Rikishi's saying like they always looking down on the island boys. They're never pushing us to our fullest potential. And then look at what Rock's doing for the bloodline now. Maybe there was some merit to it. Who's to say? Maybe it was one of those weird butterfly effects. Like, what if Rikishi never hit Stone Cold with the car? Would the bloodline exist today? I don't know.
It would.
It would. Yep, it would. We would just get less tweets.
Maybe.
We'd get less tweets about Rikishi complaining about things online. So that's probably
what a horrible fate that would be. Yeah. We'd have less lore, I guess, too, at least from my end.
A little less.
Oh my boy! All right, let's jump ahead to 2005. No Mercy, SmackDown branded pay-per-view from the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. This is famously known as Eddie Guerrero's last pay-per-view match, losing to Batista in a World Heavyweight title match in the main event. Also on the card, Randy Orton and Bob Orton defeated The Undertaker in a handicap casket match and then lit it on fire after the match.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first, rip Eddie. Rest in peace, Eddie Guerrero. It's actually like this. It would have been his birthday if he was still with us today. So,
Damn it, Johnny! You ruined my surprise.
That sounds very morbid, but
I was gonna say happy birthday to Eddie.
Well, you don't bring up Eddie and then expect me not to say it when it's Eddie's day. So I beat you to it. But
this is my segment, damn it.
Well,
still real to me, damn it.
They had a good feud, Eddie and Dave, and I also that Orton and Undertaker feud was excellent.
Very underrated.
And then, that summated at Survivor Series where Orton wins it for SmackDown, and then they bring out the casket, and Taker comes out and destroys the roster. That was another classic Undertaker moment. So, yeah, it sounded like two good matches.
It got a great gif out of it, too. In a Cell match at Armageddon 05 where they both bleed like stuffed pigs, Bob Orton too, and Bob Orton did not tell anybody that he had hepatitis 2. And The Undertaker was not happy.
It's probably the second least happy The Undertaker has been in his career, with the first being when the pyro guy fucked him over. Both of them very
fastest you'll ever see an Undertaker entrance.
But probably two people that Undertaker's wanted to kill directly from in-ring stuff, and one of them was Bob Orton for sure from that one, because that's pretty dumb.
Yeah, it's completely fucked up. He should have told people, but he didn't. And if he would have gotten his shit rocked by Taker, even at the age of 50 or whatever, it would have been earned.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, age does not exempt him from an ass whooping in that case.
Undertaker's got to deliver receipts. That was his whole thing.
Yeah, Bob ought to know the rules.
Yeah.
He's from pre-Taker era.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done it now.
Gone and made a big mistake.
What else we got?
2006, Kurt Angle made his highly anticipated debut in TNA, confronting Samoa Joe to end the episode of Impact, and that spawned that incredible feud between the two that really cemented TNA in the late 2000s.
Yeah, Christian Cage coming over was definitely an eye-opener too, especially the manner in which Christian was pushed and the manner in which he was treated and spotlighted in TNA. But when you have someone the caliber of Kurt Angle, who already was a multiple-time world champion upon coming to TNA, and for him to just boost the legitimacy of that promotion, it really set the bar from that point on, and it really let people know that TNA was a major force to be reckoned with until, I mean, obviously, you know, the Hogan era and that came along. But I mean, TNA fans were eating good at that time, man. Like Kurt Angle is one of those guys who, in spite of winning every single fucking title in the promotion, including an IWGP or IWGP belt that kind of lingered out on the periphery there too. I was not mad. Like if there's one guy who can hold all those belts legitimately, it was Kurt for sure.
Right.
And what's crazy about Kurt Angle too is like I just read something about him. He doesn't consider himself a WWE legend because he's only been in the company like 7 years. And also too, he's I mean arguably achieved more in TNA than he had in the WWE. But just it's odd to hear Kurt not kind of perceive himself in that light, especially when you consider the longevity of other, you know, obvious WWE legends like Austin and The Rock, perfect examples, right? Like from beginning to the end of their like first runs or what have you, like they never left the company, but they were around for what, you know, 7 years, if that, at a time, like the Attitude Era, and including the Ruthless Aggression Era for The Rock. But I mean, nobody's going to question someone like Austin's legitimacy as a GOAT contender in the WWE. That's for sure.
Right. I mean, it's Kurt Angle. He's one of the GOATs. Don't think anybody can argue that.
Nope. Shout out Kurt.
And we're going to move ahead 10 years. 2016, WWE held No Mercy from the Golden One Center in Sacramento, California. Due to the presidential debate that was happening that day, the quote-unquote main event went on first, with AJ Styles retaining the WWE Championship in a triple threat match featuring Dean Ambrose and John Cena. But, I mean, in the true main event, Dolph Ziggler defeated The Miz in a title versus career match to win the Intercontinental Championship in their really, really great feud that year. This was right off the,
Go ahead.
you know, Miz talking smack promo of him saying he wants to be the IC title be taken seriously, and him and Dolph just have this really acclaimed feud. It brought some legitimacy back to the title, but then it just, you know, it fell off a cliff from there. As for AJ Styles retaining the WWE Championship, it's expected.
Yeah, I mean, I can't knock AJ's title run. Either of them. I think he had two. So I mean, I'll always be an AJ mark. Like even now, like even post injury, like I'm still wanting him to have one more run as a top guy before he hangs it up. And I think he more than definitely can hold that mantle with legitimacy. Um, Speaking of legitimacy, though, I thought it was a really cool thing because at the time too, I think it was around the time when um, you had New Japan featuring their Intercontinental Championship with legitimacy. They're trying to put it on or near the level of their World Championship. So I feel like, you know, maybe WWE took some cues from that too. I know that there was a lot of talk around that time of,
No,
you know, they had like what was that?
it's not that at all. I hate to, you know, interrupt you and disagree, but it's literally there was a presidential debate, so their main event was going on first. Vince did not give a shit about the IC title in 2016.
I would argue he never
Well,
really
I mean,
gave a
I
shit
could
about it ever.
not as much as shit, no, but I mean, it was definitely a prize among the boys. So I mean, at the very least, I'll say that it was at least a good thing for the guys who wanted to see the IC title. I know, like, there's this one table for three episode that I watched. It was like I'm sorry, not Miz, like Bryan, Ryback, Ziggler, and they had like a whole like segment on that episode where they're talking about boosting the legitimacy of the Intercontinental Championship because of its status as the workman's title. So, I mean, right, and even under the conditions, under the auspices that it was featured in the main event, I feel like it was still a cool thing to see. You know,
What else we got?
Well, besides that, it's you know, a happy heavenly birthday to Latino Heat. Eddie Guerrero.
I already said that. Come on.
He's sorely missed. Latino Heat forever. That's all I got. But let's talk about some Bad Blood. Now we got
Yeah.
Mad Love.
Yeah, Bad Blood. So that was happening this past Saturday in Atlanta. They had almost 17,000 in attendance, 16,902. 5 matches on the card. And it kicked off with a match that a lot of people were clamoring to be the main event, but ended up opening the show for reasons we'll get into in a bit. But CM Punk defeated Drew McIntyre in a Hell in a Cell match. This is the blow off to their feud. They're got to imagine they're done with each other at this point. Match went 31 minutes and 25 seconds, so it was a long one. Both guys shed a lot of blood. Drew, especially, he got busted open pretty bad on the top of the head. If you saw the picture on social media, he got a lot of staples in his head from that. It looked like about a dozen or so.
I think it was 16, they said.
Was it 16? All right. What'd you guys think of the match? What'd you guys think of the feud? And what happens next for both of these guys?
I mean, match was brutal. It's the most brutal match we've seen in a long time in the Fed.
Fed.
I mean, that's what it's called.
No, it's not.
Who calls it the Fed?
AEW weirdos call it the Fed. Don't be that guy.
I'm calling it the Fed right now, and you're going to like it, Donnie.
I'm not going to like it. You can call it that if you want, but I'm not going to like it. It hasn't been the Fed for what?
22 years.
Thank you.
I'm not going to call it the Ed.
Give or take, but
I'm not going to call it the Ed.
You don't want to call it the E?
Fine,
the E. The E is fine.
There you go.
Letter E is in Fed, so both of you shut up. I think it was very much CM Punk and Drew going, all right, we can't be last. Fuck it. We'll go first and just, steal the show and push it to the limit. They beat the fuck out of each other.
Yep.
It looked like with the table leg spot that he was going to stab Drew for real.
Yeah, he got real close there.
Apparently, from a different angle, it was completely missing his head, but the angle that we got, it looked like he was gonna fucking hit him right in the eye.
See, that's the value of having a good production team to be able to pick that stuff up, and a not so good production team. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, WWE has their moments where it's right place, right time. Like, unfortunately, they weren't in the right place, right time last night on NXT with Javon and Randy's spot. But in that case, they were right place, right time, and it looked badass.
Right. I feel like this was the best Hell in a Cell match in maybe 20 years since like Batista and Triple H. I mean, it like you can be partial, but this was it felt like the Hell in a Cell that we were promised in '97. Like a torture chamber of hell and blood and guts
and friendship bracelet parts.
Well, I'm bringing that up because like
psychological horror.
Yeah, it's Drew's hubris. This is what cost him at Mania, and it cost him here. He had to, dump the bag of. People thought it was thumbtacks. I did not see tacks coming into this match, but like he had to dump the bracelet parts on him, and he could have just hit a Claymore, got the 3, but instead he took one of the nastiest looking bumps I've ever seen. Jesus Christ, that looked like it hurt. And then I was clamoring for a Pepsi plunge onto the steps. I know I wasn't going to get it, but I wanted to see it. But a chain assisted GTS, so I'll take it. I don't want to hear about Punk being washed after that match. Long live CM Punk, man.
He looked great.
Brandon, what do you think?
He looked great. I'm just going to chime in there about him being washed before we jump back to Brandon, but he looked great. He didn't look out of his element at all, I don't think, in that match. I know a couple of his matches, like his first match, he looked pretty gassed. But this match, I think his conditioning was good. His pace was good. He was pulling out what he needed to do. I think Punk looked great.
Yeah, I'll agree. I mean, I feel like he definitely surpassed my expectations as far as like how he would look in the cell. I thought he was probably gonna. Oh, I didn't necessarily think he was gonna catch it a little easy, just because of where we are in time and where his body is with everything. But I mean, it definitely came as advertised and then some. Um, I agree with your assessment there, Pierce. I feel like this is like when you consider bell to bell, this is arguably one of the best cell matches we've had in a long time. I myself was partial to the last Lesnar Undertaker cell match they had, where I think it was Lesnar who did Lesnar F5 Taker onto the exposed the wood under the ring or what have you when they peeled back the mats. So that was yeah, that was another really brutal cell match that I really enjoyed, and I felt like it harkened to the spirit of what the cell was initially intended for.
But the difference is with that one is that they were Vince's guys. You know what I mean? They could get away
Sure.
with that shit. This had
absolutely.
This match would not have happened if Vince was Punk would not be in the company if Vince was still in charge. That's clear. And
Yeah,
it's very much, it was the like you can like Lesnar Taker. I like Lesnar Taker. Hell, the best match before this in Hell in a Cell, I would say would be Taker Triple H, but that wasn't brutal. That was more cinematic. It was more story based.
Cinema.
This had both.
It was more cinema. Say the word. We know everybody on the show loves it.
Oh,
yeah, Brandon, you could shut
everybody
up.
We said it is. Hey,
I think I use it correctly. Some people use it to death.
That's my point. I feel like it's one of those things. It's become a meme of sorts, and I feel like it's just going to get milked to death. Even though, right, I can appreciate the cinematic qualities of a lot of different aspects of wrestling now, and even then, looking back, but it's a meme term.
Sounds very much like a get off my lawn kind of response to it. Like, yeah, we're
Yes.
older. We're not as hip with the
And that's
times
fine.
and the verbiage. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Old man yells at internet.
That's exactly the vibe that I got from that. I'm sorry to interject, but I just
And
couldn't
that's
help myself
okay.
when he said it.
No,
And that's okay.
But like you look at Hell in a Cell in the past, we'll say since the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view started. Think of the matches that have been in there. Randy Orton versus Mark Henry. They did not do anything with the cell. They stayed in the ring. The only one that was not at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view was, besides Edge and Seth Rollins, which was a very good one, was the end of an era, which it wasn't because fucking Saudi money.
You're also forgetting Finn Balor versus Edge at WrestleMania 40 or 30, 39. Sorry,
WrestleMania.
Post Vince.
Where were you?
It's very.
Although that one was brutal, also
bad, very bad for lots of reasons.
It could have been good if Finn won.
Story of his career, honestly, at this point.
That match had a different winner. We'd be talking about it differently. But think of the cell matches. You had the very cinema of Triple H Undertaker. You had the brutality of Taker Lesnar. This was a good combination of both, even though this was a lot more brutal than I would say Taker Lesnar was. And it was very much, the last couple of cell matches besides, Cody, Seth, and Seth Edge were really, really bad. So I'm happy to see it go back to its roots, and let's just keep moving forward with it. I don't want to see another Hell in a Cell match.
Sorry, rewind. Did you say Cody Seth was bad?
No, I said it was good.
Okay, I misheard because I was like, what?
That'd be a hot take.
There have been a couple of decent ones, but besides Cody, Seth, and Seth Edge, the rest of them have been decent to shit.
You didn't like Bobby Lashley versus Xavier Woods on Monday Night Raw?
Can't say that I did.
No, was that a COVID era?
Seth Rollins.
Yeah, That one and another one that is obviously going to get forgotten is Roman Reigns beating Rey Mysterio. That was also in a cell on SmackDown.
My God, what the hell were they doing?
It was pandemic. They didn't know what they were doing.
Yep.
Fair. Speaking of people who don't know what they're doing, I got a yuck out of Ryback giving Punk shit for being an unsafe worker because he used a work toolbox to split open McIntyre and give him that gash on his head. You guys see that?
There's some irony there. Ryback's an idiot.
Well, he's always been dumb as fuck, but you know.
To quote CM Punk, gorilla press onto a table, misses the fucking table.
Yeah, there'll be
well, it's just sad too.
There'll be no shout outs.
It's like Ryback clinging to relevance.
He needs another retirement tweet to get people to talk about him again.
Oh, he's the big guy.
Big idiot. Where do we go from here with these guys? We've talked about this a little bit, at least on CM Punk's side, but we should probably talk about it on Drew's side too. What happens next? Where does CM Punk go first as the victor? What do we think?
Gunther.
We know he's not going to. Okay, you think it's Gunther? Why do you think it's Gunther?
He's the clear number one contender for the world title on Raw. Simple as that. Who else could you put in that spot?
I mean, assuming he gets done with his feud with Bronson on time, you could argue for Seth Rollins, perhaps.
Yep. Okay, you say Braun Strowman if he wasn't injured.
He is hurt.
Yes. So is Punk if you listen to his promo on Monday.
He is not hurt. He just has morals that he upholds and will not go to Saudi.
When does this match happen?
Survivor Series.
So you think they're going to have Punk off TV for a month and then have Crown Jewel and then in 3 weeks build Gunther versus Punk?
I don't think you need that much TV time for it. Probably could be a 2-3 pay-per-view run, realistically.
Well, I'm gonna play devil's advocate to this for a couple reasons. One, I don't think that's enough time for them to get their first match in. I just don't see it happening. I could very easily see a scenario where Gunther just doesn't defend at Survivor Series. If there isn't a contender ready for him, which I actually would have thought may have been Braun Breaker, but that kind of got flipped on its head too after this past week on Raw. But the 3 week turnaround, and then knowing that when the Rumble comes around, like Punk has to be in the Rumble because the end of the road gets you to Punk and Seth, and that's not happening anywhere but WrestleMania because they tried to do it last year desperately, couldn't do it, and then they've teased it at least 3 times since then. You're giving Punk 1, maybe 2 matches if he does. I guess like you could technically do it there. You could technically do it at Saturday night's main event, which to me personally seems maybe a little bit more likely if that was to happen, to get one big high profile match on there. Or it could be on the first episode of Raw on Netflix. But I feel like Survivor Series is too soon.
Where does Goldberg factor into all of this?
That is a very good question because you don't bring him out there and have an interview with him and show backstage stuff specifically with him and about answering phone calls without potentially having something with Goldberg in the pipe. I actually think that a match with Goldberg could have happened at Saudi, but that would have required Sami Zayn to win on Monday because of that stupid crown jewel title they have. I could easily see it being Goldberg versus Gunther at Survivor Series.
I'd honestly be okay with that match, genuinely.
As long as he gets buried and we never have to see him in the ring again.
It's gonna give Goldberg his retirement match he wants, and I think it doesn't have to be long. Give him 5 minutes, have him choke him out, just beat the shit out of him, and be done.
Goldberg's gonna have a real hard time giving Gunther a jackhammer.
Yeah, that's what, like, have him get 1 to 2, like, have it be very similar to him versus Brock at 33.
That was 8 years ago. Like, I don't even think.
He was Goldberg back then too.
Yeah. I don't know. That's tough. Like,
That match.
Sorry, go ahead, Brandon.
No, that match is going to sell though. I mean, I was looking at the numbers, and before I was under the impression that The Rock coming back at Bad Blood was like the most viewed video highlight of that card. But looking back, at least at the time, it was maybe like a day ago. I looked, Goldberg's actually got a few thousand views, maybe a couple 100,000 views on The Rock's comeback, which was kind of surprising because I didn't think. I mean, granted, he's in Atlanta, so locally you could see Goldberg having a bit more hype behind him in that regard. But like, I didn't think people actually gave that much of a rip about Goldberg still, especially relative to The Rock, who's been far more relevant in recent memory.
Still about 400,000 more viewers for Goldberg.
Atlanta, Goldberg is still a big deal. And with The Rock, not in wrestling, but like in general, I think there's Dwayne fatigue.
No, I don't think so. Not for the final boss stuff. People were lapping that shit up all the way through to WrestleMania.
Not in wrestling. I'm talking in the outer world. You know, wrestling is its own little thing. Everybody really likes the final boss. I don't think that's anybody is going to disagree with that. Well, I'm sure the IWC will, but I don't really give a fuck about them. They have weird opinions.
Like calling WWE the Fed.
Yeah, that seems very stark to me. It seems very off.
Just teasing.
I am never living that one down.
Go on.
Get on the train, buddy, with me and Austin Theory. Sorry, never mind. I didn't say that. Continue.
He's going to be the Fed's champ soon enough.
Oh, please stop.
Anywho.
You look at The Rock's movies and everything, people started getting fatigued of him because it's him playing the same. It's him playing the fucking Rock in every movie.
I would agree with you in that sense, but like, who's going out of their way to search for Goldberg that isn't already watching wrestling to that point? You know what I mean? Like, I don't go on the local YouTubes and on my Sunday afternoon be like, man, I wonder what Goldberg's up to. Let's watch some Goldberg content.
Yeah, but in Atlanta specifically, Goldberg is still a very big deal. He was a Falcon. He was WCW. It's, I get what you're saying.
And also, too, like with the shot at Bret Hart that Gunther gave recently on Raw, you got to figure if Goldberg's in the audience, like people are going to want to see like if Gunther's going to shoot him out too, and they're going to want to see if they didn't catch the PLE, which I imagine not everybody subscribes to Peacock or was able to watch Bad Blood live. So I guess that would factor into, which I mean speaks as much to Gunther as anything, I feel, and how he's doing as champ.
Now that this isn't the first time that we've had a Gunther and Goldberg thing, I don't think it's if these guys have a match. I think it's when. And that can very easily be the bridge for Gunther between now and his next big feud, which might still be CM Punk, but that's a very quick one and done, don't require a lot of promo work, blah, blah, blah. 5-minute match. Everybody moves on with their life.
And two, I feel like with Crown Jewel or like most any Saudi pay-per-view that's on the horizon, I feel like maybe it just might be me, but I feel like people can kind of almost expect Goldberg just to kind of show up like Mariah Carey at Christmas. Like it just kind of, you don't think about him at any other point in the year. Here comes Goldberg. It must be Crown Jewel time.
Yeah, gotta bury somebody else in the Saudi desert.
Can we just talk about how this is the most filler arc WWE has had in a while? Like, I know the Saudi shows are all filler for the most part, but this is literally like the Goku and Piccolo getting their driver's license of pay-per-views.
Well, I mean, it's in fairness, that's what they were doing with Survivor Series for a while. Champion versus champion. And they kind of got away from that, and then they just never found a way to fit that in anywhere else.
But they don't need to do it if they're not having a legit brand split. It's just pointless.
I'm gonna disagree and say casuals love that shit. Casuals will lap up champion versus champion matches every single time.
And especially in this day and age, where the championships have been escalated, they've been, their prestige has gained so much over the last couple of years under the current paradigm with how WWE's been booking them.
I am all for Cody Gunther. Me and Brandon have been saying that Gunther should be the one to dethrone Cody,
Yeah,
but
it's a little late now, but
this is just it's just filler for the point of, a paycheck.
yeah. But I don't disagree with you, but like I wouldn't be surprised outside of the egregiously ugly looking title belt. There's a large section of fans that want to see champion versus champion, I think. It's not us. But anyways,
probably move on to the next match.
Well, no, actually, because there was one other person I wanted to talk about in this, and we didn't. What does Drew McIntyre do next?
We don't see him till the Rumble. I think he gets a well-deserved break.
Yeah, I mean, they already alluded to Drew's workhorsemanship when they were talking in comparisons of their conditioning. Like, was it Corey Graves brought up, like, Drew's been working, however many days a year, and, Punk's kind of just only had a couple of smatterings here and there of action since he had been back. So, really, like, comparing the two, like, you could give Drew an edge in almost any match the two would have. But then, with the Cell, of course, being the great equalizer that everyone knows and loves, it, obviously led to the conclusion that we got. But with Drew, like, going forward, man, it'll be interesting because, I mean, right, what does he do? Like, he doesn't really have a legitimate claim to go after like a Gunter. I mean, he doesn't go after Punk again unless maybe like he shows up at the Rumble and tries to
you get that Rumble stare down.
That's what's gonna happen. He could have
poetically try and cost him
though. He could have a claim to Gunther in the sense that, I mean, he was champion and lost to a cash-in and never got a chance to get it back, did he not?
He had 2 chances.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. CM Punk screwed him over every single time.
Exactly.
And
the thing,
there's some room there, I think, still.
But over the years, though, like, I mean, one-on-one, triple threat, even for when Gunther was Intercontinental Champion, how many times has Drew gotten an edge on or beaten Gunther? Like, Gunther's already beaten Drew twice for lesser title. So, I mean, and then when you figure all that's happened recently, like, I don't see where where Drew rather features in the title picture. I mean, right, Drew's a main event guy, bona fide, for probably the rest of his career now, I would say, until he doesn't want to be in the light no more. But as far as legitimacy goes, like, I don't know what kind of claim he would have after coming back. Like, and then what does it take to get him to that point again? Like, do we see a face turn? Like, is he kind of the anti-hero Drew? The broken dreams kind of Drew, but like everybody loves him now? Like, what do we
if there's some
what can we anticipate from that?
If there's some speculation about there being a draft earlier this year around the time when they go to Netflix, which there's been some speculation about, or even if it's after WrestleMania, he probably ends up getting sent to where Cody's champion, wherever that ends up being, and feuds with Cody.
That would be an interesting feud in and of itself too, for the fact that they had like a weird like pet name for themselves when they were the tag champions like 13 years ago or what have you. But then, right, besides that, like, they followed very similar career trajectories. Like, right, they were both ousted and then they both grinded and kind of built their own foundation on the outside, came back bigger, better than ever.
If Cody's not with The Rock or Roman for Mania, I think Cody Drew could be the match. And Drew has 1,000% earned it. He's one of the MVPs of this year, if not the MVP. His character work, his matches, everything that Drew touched this year turned to fucking gold.
Yeah, Drew's online presence was second to none. Like, and that was a surprise too. Like, I never really knew Drew to be anything resembling Savage online, but just to see the lengths he's gone, and really, it says a lot about him in this day and age. Like, people I've heard question, like, what does it take to be a heel in the post kayfabe era of pro wrestling, where everybody knows it's scripted and everybody knows that the matches are predetermined. But then when you have a guy like Drew, who's kind of crossing thresholds on social media. And I think of that one post he made towards that one gal who was talking about how her daughter was crying because he snatched up her sign and ripped it up. And then he, he said something to the effect that your daughter can't spell, she's not going anywhere in life, or something like that. I'm like, that is 21st century heel work to a T. That is the perfect blurring of the line where he's going and he's reaching across the bow onto this woman's personal account, responding to her in person effectively, or as in person as you can get these days, and just giving it. And there's no one who does it like Drew at this point. And that's, again, was a huge surprise, but a very pleasant surprise for me. Yeah, Drew definitely on that breast should definitely be in a title picture, whether it's the world title or the WWE title. Cody would be, I mean, in line with Cody's, super baby face role now. Like, Drew is kind of an antithesis to him in most all respects, really. So, right. I mean, if Cody wasn't so wrapped with Rock or Bloodline, Drew would make perfect sense.
All right. Well, let's go into the next matches then, because these ones will probably blur together and take less time than the first match we covered. Second match of the night was Nia Jax successfully defending the WWE Women's Championship by defeating Bayley in just over 14 minutes. Tiffany obviously came out, didn't do anything. Nia won as expected. Ho hum.
Not nearly as good as SummerSlam.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing.
A little botchy.
Yeah. It was a match for a title. The right person won. We move on.
The ref bump was funny. That might be the first female ref bump ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about that. I was like, huh.
I don't recall ever seeing Jessica Carr involved in a spot like that before. So
I liked Nia attempting the Hurricane Nia. I'm interested in the dissension of Tiffy and Nia. Let's see the story evolve. I mean, the match was fine. There's really not much else to say.
going into Crown Jewel, Nia will face. We'll talk about it in a little bit later, but Liv Morgan. There can't be any way that Nia loses to Liv, right? Like,
I'm
even
sure
with the
Rhea Ripley will have something to say about Liv winning.
yeah.
So
We'll see how.
Yeah.
We'll see. And then talking about Tiffany actually too. Did you guys actually? I mean, I know I'm not supposed to know what happens on the shows that are taped, but Raw was a double taping on Monday. Did you guys see what the main event was for next Monday?
I had not, no.
it's something with Tiffy and Nia, right? Like it's
No. It was actually so spoilers for people that are listening. Mute your audio for the next 30 seconds if you don't want to hear it. But the main event was a tag team match between Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, who we'll talk about in a second, against Rhea Ripley and Tiffany Stratton.
that's interesting.
That's intriguing.
Yeah.
I know
So
right a little bit. I know that Nia was trying to get Liv and Tiffy to cash in on Liv, and she didn't. But
yeah,
it's very much. I mean, I don't think she's gonna cash in and go to Raw. I mean, especially if they're continuing the Rhea and Liv story, which I mean, they don't really need to. I will get into it in
We'll
the
get
next
into that when we
bit.
get to that match, but yeah,
But
Tiffany has to be cashing in on Nia, you would imagine, just based on how their dynamic has been over the last few weeks. But could that happen at Crown Jewel? Maybe.
I think they're going to leave it till probably the Rumble.
That's an
Maybe
awful long way to
Saturday.
drag it out.
I think it's going to be. I think I'll give you my scenario for this. It'll be another, miscommunication, and Nia's going to snap and quote unquote injure Tiffany, and then Tiffy will be gone for a bit, take a little break, come back. You won't expect it, and have like a real unexpected cash in.
Okay. It's possible. I don't
Yeah, I mean,
dislike
I
it
just
either.
don't see them. Yeah, I mean, I feel like if she was there like week to week, it'd be kind of hard to sustain the pressure without the eventual payoff. Because right now it's kind of we're approaching ahead. Like we've had two, teases with cash-ins on pay-per-view, PLE, what have you. So I gotta imagine like going through Crown Jewel and then Survivor Series and then whatever else comes subsequently after that. Like that's a lot to expect. I mean, and we've talked about the longevity of the Miss Money in the Bank title and how long it's taken for. But under these circumstances, even for men or women, like that's a long time to withhold a cash in
Well,
under these circumstances.
we know what we could do is because she's been kind of slipping up recently, she could cash in her Miss Money in the Bank briefcase on the Women's Speed Championship.
Oh, Donnie.
As long as she can win it in under 3 minutes. Yeah.
Shout out
God.
Candice LeRae for finally getting her dub over Io Sky, by the way. That was today on X.
Yeah, shout out Candice LeRae. She's probably overdue an actual title run.
Definitely.
Yeah.
She's been a
Hopefully she
standard
still
bearer
gets
for
one
women's
too.
wrestling for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully she gets a televised one because her character work has always been good. Her in-ring work has always been good.
Indie
Yeah.
stuff is
CW.
insane.
They did this heel turn with her, and now she's just kind of exists on SmackDown. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. Not really much more to talk about there. The third match, kind of similar here, but Damian Priest defeated Finn Balor in 12 minutes 45 seconds. Judgment Day fuckery, obviously, as part of that match. Didn't matter. Damian wins. Not surprised. I think Damian needed this win in order to build some legitimacy towards his character and that he can stand alone. What do you guys think?
It was a hell of a lot of fun. Finn looked good, Damian looked good, but the Judgment Day is just really a joke now.
They're kind of like a job squad these days, honestly. I mean, the only one who's really legitimate in the whole group would be like Liv. And even then, like she can't get by without the fuckery either. So
that's kind of happens though with factions that have overstayed their welcome, so to speak. Like you just kind of lose a lot when it matters. Like, even heck, like Solo hasn't been able to win very often, right? The Bloodline just not looked all that great, despite also having tag team championships. So it's kind of what happens when a faction just exists for too long. They just start being the job squad to put people over, and then they just kind of disappear. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, this match, it just was Finn being Finn Balor. I don't see a reason for this feud to continue. I guess it will. I'd rather see Finn and JD grow the tag division, especially with the War Raiders now. Since
Yep.
I saw that spoiler.
Yep.
And AOP, there's a lot of good teams on Raw. I'd rather see Damian go after maybe the IC title or get a rematch against Gunther, but they want to continue it, they can go ahead. I'm sure Finn will just lose again and I'll get sad.
Well, the unfortunate thing is that there's not really any stakes involved in this, right? Like, particularly when we're talking about Damien, following the pay per view, he announced that him and Rhea were going to be going their separate ways, following different trajectory, not featuring themselves as the Terror Twins, which I thought was a golden opportunity they missed out on because of the fact that you had Finn and JD not defending their world tag titles. In that respect, since you could use something for Rhea to do after she gets screwed by Liv. Now, however you deviate her from Liv is the question, but like, what if you run Damian and Rhea against Finn and JD? And then you have the intrigue. Well, what if Rhea becomes what first, woman half of a men's tag title, And I feel like with all the physicality that Rhea's been exhibiting, particularly towards JD, like, I feel like it was as good a chance as any of that happening, but
no one's
not
going to
really
hit her.
to be anymore.
No one's going to hit her, and if someone actually did hit her, social media would be up in arms.
Right.
Well, I mean, she can still take moves though. Like, I mean, you had, I don't know how much people were clamoring for Baron Corbin to get canceled when he hit the end of days on Becky Lynch. And especially like with
that is true. I'll give you that. That was a one-off. Hasn't been seen basically again since then. Like all these times where we have Liv interfering, Rhea interfering, or whoever interfering in a woman interfering in a men's stuff. Like it's the woman never gets hit ever.
right. Well, and two, I mean, like it wouldn't be. It's not like they necessarily have to hit. They can engage in like a different kind of match. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, how did it go when Jacqueline was the cruiserweight champion? Like, how did it go with China being the Intercontinental champion? Even in those days,
20 years ago, 30 years ago, almost.
Sure.
Right.
But also too, I feel like the point could stand that like it doesn't even have to involve that kind of an altercation. Like they could still have matches. They could still dance around like, and they could even build up like the will they won't they if they're going to try to hit her because I mean, right. Like Rhea is easily one of the most imposing female figures in the whole roster. And I feel like you've seen her like body slam Luke Gallows. You've seen her take out Dom, JD.
Tozawa last year.
Yeah, Tozawa didn't even get it a hit in.
So I'm saying that's the whole thing.
That's not like who wants to see a championship won that way? I don't.
Well, I mean, if it could just be one, and then it could be like a one-off thing, like just to etch it in the books, and then figure out how it goes away the next. Like, I mean, if the Judgment Day must continue to feud with either Rhea or Damian, just throw something in there for history, and then let it go. However you got to do it. It could even happen the next week. It does. No one's saying it has to be a long tag title reign.
They forfeited like I thought Braun and Nicholas.
Yeah, someone was. I don't know. Rhea had to go back to Australia for something. I don't know. Something happened with Buddy at home. I don't know.
They should be on the tag team stuff still. Like Finn, you're right. I think he should be defending his tag team titles. Who that's against, we'll see. Damian Priest, again, he's in a little bit of a similar spot to Drew, where it's hard to justify him putting him back in a title match. I guess you could, but he lost straight up clean to Gunther.
Wasn't that clean?
Well,
he had the match won, and then Finn screwed him.
Yeah, well, that wasn't Gunther's doing, so.
Minus the Finn variable, who's to say where we would have been? I mean, probably Gunther's still winning, but, for the sake of story.
Okay. Fourth match, which we've already alluded to in a bit already. So technically speaking, Rhea Ripley defeated Liv Morgan, but it was by disqualification. due to Raquel Rodriguez returning and attacking Rhea in a very awkward, clumsy way.
Seemed like she was a little quick on the trigger.
Yeah, but I mean, it's in cases like this, it's always someone giving them the cue. Like very rarely is someone going out on their own accord. They're being told like go go go. So I think it was just an awkward spot where the referee maybe shouldn't have left the ring to look at Rhea beating up Dom because it's not really relevant to the match, but he did, and then that kind of just puts Raquel in no man's land, where it's like, what is she supposed to do?
Yeah,
She's out there to do her
it was
spot.
your
She's going to
fighting
stand there
finish.
while the ref, oh, I don't see you there or whatever. So I think it was a bit unlucky for Raquel in that regard, but
Yeah, especially since she's been gone for how long, you know? And this is like supposed to be her big return to relevance. Or, she's getting involved with the women's world champion immediately. And then for something like that to happen.
yeah, I do feel kind of bad for her in that sense. Like I think a lot of people are going to give her shit for it when, from a production perspective, I really don't think it's her fault. But at least she's not smiling and flexing her back. She's really just not saying
I'm happy
anything.
to see her back. I mean, Raquel is a fun wrestler. I'm hoping her and Rhea can have some female hoss fights.
Yep.
Don't get to see that meaty women slapping meat, I guess it would be.
Yep. Her best work was as a heel in NXT. So I'm cautiously optimistic of the work that she'll put in now that she's back. And hopefully she stays healthy too.
Yep, that's all we really want. Do want to say the Oblivion was kind of botched bad. But the homewrecker move is just so cool. That should be her finish.
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of Oblivion, but it's one of those things where it's like it has to be so scripted to do it. It's kind of tricky to make it look good every single time, especially when there's such a size disparity.
But that homewrecker move?
No, I'm talking about Oblivion.
No, well, and on the Oblivion though too, like I mean, when you look at it, like they have to hold the ropes too, right? Like that's part of the move. Like they hold the ropes, they're leaning against the ropes, and then she hits him with that STO.
Right.
So then it's just like, how does that work? Like when 95% of times you could just be like, oh, wait a minute, there's rope here, and then they fall on the back of their head. Right. Well, you're fucked now. Like, was the homewrecker? Is that the one? Is that that spike like cross? That like spike cross pinning move that she does.
Handle flip thing that she does. That she's just started doing.
I would say, was that the one she broke out at SummerSlam the first time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that move. It's based off of something so simple, and yet like it's impactful.
Just looks
I like
cool,
the look
man.
of it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's all that matters.
I do want to say about this match, I thought it was interesting that the shark cage had to be outside of the ring because normally it's above the ring, but because of the Hell in a Cell, they had to do it outside. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, this is out of the ordinary. I can't imagine it was all that comfortable for Dom to be hanging there like a piñata either.
Yeah, that could have went really bad. We're lucky it didn't, but it could have went very bad for old Dom.
Yeah. But
him getting beat like a piñata was pretty funny though.
It was very funny. I was very much enjoying that for what it was. But you got to imagine again. Still, we've been talking about this for a bit, but this feud will probably end at War Games. I honestly don't know if we'll see Rhea get another title match. Again, it could be at Saturday night's main event potentially, but I really can't see them dragging this out all the way to the Royal Rumble. Maybe as a condition of Rhea's team winning at War Games, she gets a title match at Saturday night's main event a couple weeks later. Thoughts?
Yeah, it shouldn't go till the Rumble. It needs to end.
Yeah, she's going to get one more for sure. But yeah, they can't drag it out too far because I think people are going to get real sick and tired of it, especially considering. I mean, you're right. Like with Raquel Rodriguez coming in the picture too. Like, I'm sure there's going to be other women who are going to be clamoring. I mean, even assuming they introduce like women's mid card titles in the near future, which maybe they hold off on that till Netflix. Maybe they bring it in, beforehand. But I feel like in the main picture, like Liv Rhea's gonna run its course here pretty fast. Like it's gonna be the last one, and then that's it.
That puts us over to the main event. The tag match between Cody and Roman against the Bloodline. This match went almost 26 minutes. And Cody and Roman win. Roman pinned Solo after how many spears and Superman punches? It was a lot. I didn't count how many it was, but it was a lot.
I think it was only one spear that I remember.
There was at least like 4, I want to say, Superman punches. Like it felt like there was a lot.
There was a couple of them. Definitely a couple of them.
Post match, you got, or sorry, no, I don't want to say post match. I'm jumping ahead here. The rest of the Bloodline come out, try and run interference, and Jimmy Uso makes his return in his classic black hoodie, not seeing his face, takes out the tag champs, distracts Solo enough for Roman to get the win. Post match, Bloodline starts beating up on Cody, and interestingly enough, Jimmy convinces Roman to save Cody. Roman didn't want to, but Jimmy convinced him to do it. They save Cody. They're left standing in the ring, the 3 of them. And the final boss's music hits, and The Rock comes out, counts the 3 guys in the ring, and does a throat slit gesture, and proceeds to do a 8-minute rant on Instagram Live, which I thought was very hilarious. But
it's kind of shot on a Ring doorbell camera.
A 240p potato. That's what the P stands for, potato.
Could have made a little drinking game over every time The Rock said final boss in that promo too.
I was making a joke when I was showing it to Marta about how many times he said it. Like if I legitimately had to do even if I had to take a sip of a beer, I think every time he said it, I would be like, "Whoa, I drank that beer too fast. That was a lot."
You threw a 6er.
Like that was a lot of final bosses dropped. But thoughts on the match, thoughts on the result, thoughts on what comes next, thoughts on the final boss.
Roman and Cody kind of had a dick measuring contest on who could have a cooler entrance this PLE.
Yep.
Both were very cool, I thought.
Strange for a B-list show to have that, but cool nonetheless.
I did not like that the crowd was not hot for the Roman and Jacob like little stare down that they had. That is going to be a huge money match very soon. Even not very soon. They could hold it off for a long time, but that match is going to be fucking great when it happens. They were really hot for Roman Solo. I thought it was a very good match. Roman looks lean as shit right now. Looks like he leaned out quite a bit. I liked the idea of Cody having to risk his health to take out Jacob because Fatu just won't go down.
Yeah, how many times is the Crossroads going to get buried at the hands of the Bloodline? Like, do they have some sort of like a resistance? Is it the Samoan skull theory? Like, what are we? What are we dealing with here?
He didn't headbutt him, so we don't know if it was that. But
Well, that doesn't work
probably
because Kevin Owens needed like 3 crossroads to get taken out. So you remember my rant of this about a month ago. So that move just looks worse and worse, man.
I don't get, like, maybe I get he has the Cody cutter too, but I mean, as far as the crossroads goes, like, you can almost count it as a signature as much as anything. Like, I don't know, maybe it's time to
he does have
get a
Din's
new
fire
trick.
that he never breaks out. I mean, understandably, but I'd like to see him break that move out a little bit more.
Which one?
Din's
Din's
fire.
fire.
It's the Vertebreaker, but it's his name. Well, it's a Zelda thing.
Yeah.
I knew it was a Zelda reference. I was thinking of like the animation of Din's fire and like he's punching the ground, but like that doesn't remind me of anything Cody's done. But I guess in the sense of like a vertebraker, I could kind of see it. It's like spiking his head on the ground.
But that move is very, very not safe for the most part.
Very, very
No,
banned in
that's like,
WWE.
yeah, it's like Burning Hammer, Tiger Driver 91 tier.
It's not going to
Probably
happen.
you're not going to see it.
Not going to happen.
No, not in the WWE.
I'm happy that Jimmy's back. Him and Roman's hug was really great.
Yeah, it was a nice little feel-good moment that it didn't feel like Jimmy was just, a tag-along. Like, Jimmy felt important in that comeback. And then the embrace there, like, it was nice.
I was pleased for how people popped for him. I know you're disappointed about how they didn't really pop for Jacob Roman, but for them to see Jimmy come back and then, yeah. I mean, probably a lot of people thought he was dead because of how Rikishi was coming off about it, praying for his boy. I was like, holy shit, does he have a tumor? Like, what's going on?
It's not a tumor.
But it's not a tumor.
Rikishi did it for Big Jim.
Yeah. He did it for the people. He did it for the bloodline.
And maybe for The Rock.
We'll see. The jury's still out.
But also, one other thing in that, well, actually, 2 other things I'm going to talk about post-match. So when The Rock comes out, there was they didn't show this on the broadcast, but they showed on social media later. There was alternate angle where there's a camera in the crowd where the bloodline was, and Solo Sikoa saying everything's going according to plan still. So there's that.
Him losing 5 straight matches is going to plan.
Yeah, well,
him having a worse win-loss ratio as the leader of the bloodline versus their enforcer, which is crazy to think.
Yeah,
good job, Solo. Your plan's going real well.
And then there was the completely untelevised part, which they are really leaning into not wanting to talk about it. But during the post-event press conference, fan cameras picked up Kevin Owens beating up Cody Rhodes outside of his bus and speeding off in a Lamborghini.
That's interesting that they did that off camera just for fans to see. I think that's a cool way to do that. It could have just went the normal route of having KO attack one of his friends on screen, but having him do it in the parking lot after the show.
That's a nice car that he drove out in too. Did you see that car?
He's a prize fighter, man.
Yeah, he's back to the prize fighter now, I guess. Where do we go from here?
Prize, that's for sure.
Where do we go from here with these guys? We obviously know there's a crash course at War Games. We know Cody's got to face Gunther at Crown Jewel. Could we see more bloodline fuckery happen in that match?
I don't know if the bloodline are going to interfere in that, but I mean, I think KO could interfere in it. I think the bloodline are going to be their own thing.
So now, again, I know we're rushing ahead here, but now I'm even more confused on what the teams would be in a 5-on-5 match for Survivor Series. Because we were talking about Jimmy and Jay back, and now we got Jimmy back, but Jay's still IC champion and has no bridge connected whatsoever.
I think he loses it at Crown Jewel, realistically.
To Braun Breaker again?
Yeah.
Then why give it to him
And
in the
there's
first
always
place?
for the same reason they would give the belt to Rhea, like I was saying earlier, just to etch it in the books to say they could get that first one, and then not to say he can't get it back, not to say he can't earn another opportunity,
That's
but
very different,
if
though. That's very different because you really got like a guy like Braun Breaker, who everyone expects the sun, the moon, the earth, and the stars from going forward, and he gets how many successful title defenses did he have? One or two?
Uh,
uh,
He beat
he
Sammy.
he retained against Sammy, and I think did he beat? No, he didn't beat Jay once before. No, Jay
Nope.
won on his first attempt, I think.
Yep. Because they had the whole tournament
maybe it was
thing.
just one.
Yeah. So like,
Yeah, just the Sammy.
you get this new guy, a title run. Everyone thinks, oh, here we go, Braun Breaker mid card era. Here we come, and he loses it after one defense, and then you're just going to give it right back to him. I don't get what that does for him. I don't get what that even does for Jay, honestly. Like, sure, you get Jay that one big moment where he holds the title, but if he's only defending it a couple times, he defended against Xavier Woods this past Monday, but now Braun Breaker's clearly going after him again. So, but anyways, my point, getting back to the Survivor Series War Games match, like, who's our 5-on-5 in this? Now we're about 7 weeks out.
I mean, people are saying that The Rock's going to be in it, and he's not. He's just not.
He would make sense to be the fifth without having to introduce anybody new.
Unless it was a very, he just comes in at the very end, hits a rock bottom, and gets the pin type of thing.
Where it like is The Rock filming anything right now?
No.
No, he wrapped up shortly before he came back.
Okay, because I was just wondering,
About
because
a month
like a
ago, I
lot of
think.
filming happens out like Vancouver way, right? So, and that's where the event is.
Sure.
So it wouldn't be too hard to get him. But I don't think anybody else makes, because it shouldn't be Kevin Owens. Even if Kevin Owens has turned heel, he should not be
It
the
doesn't
fifth
make any
member
sense
at all.
I don't know if Cody's in the match for the Bloodline or for the OGs.
It could just be
They
4-on-4.
And that'd be completely fine.
Yeah. I mean, they could. Well, let me think here. So 4-on-4. I mean, and people have talked about, the potential of the potential of Sammy, because Sammy's not really. He still aspires to be world champion, but I mean that kind of got put on hold after he got beat pretty legit, from what I could tell on Raw. So it's not like, I mean, he's still gonna get his shot again, but I mean, if Roman's gonna put the call on him and Jay's good with him, and I could see Sammy taking kind of a detour to be part of this match, which I guess okay.
It's like, but you got to call Jay before you call Sammy, right? Like, you can't. Realistically, it doesn't make sense to call up Sammy first just because he has nothing going on. So you got to get Jay in there somehow.
Jay will be the catalyst to bring Sammy in.
Yeah,
because Sammy and Jay are established cool, So if it's okay by Jay, then it's okay by Sammy. So Jay would be the catalyst to bring Sammy in if that were the case.
Yep.
And then so obviously then you have. So there's your 4, and not that they need a 5th, right? But if a 5th were to happen, like you could argue, probably Cody.
Cody would be the 5th, or Randy Orton. Technically speaking, Randy Orton still exists, but he makes a little bit less sense now with.
I think especially after Bad Blood, I feel like Cody would be the obvious answer.
Yeah.
And that would help to set up in the future the inevitable Cody Roman rematch whenever that happens. Who's to say? But I mean, you kind of build the dynamic between the two of them and further that along within that match. But then, who? Assuming The Rock just comes in and he's the final boss and he does whatever the fuck he wants, so he can hang out in the cage until the ass end of the match. And it would still make perfect sense within the story because he's the final boss. He does what the fuck he wants. We saw that at WrestleMania 40,
Yep.
right? Rock will bend the rules when he needs to. Rock will do things to curry things in his favor. But then, right, like you have Rock Solo, assuming, they don't turn on him before then, which I could see also happening probably before the end of the year.
I would see it happening after the War Games match, like SmackDown after or something like that.
Yeah,
where they lose and The Rock just like kicks them out.
Losing has consequences, as we know.
Yes.
And Solo's been losing a lot more as the leader of the bloodline than he's been winning.
Yep.
So can't say the same about a Jacob Fatu, but
that's fucking tribal air.
Oh yeah, he's got that aura about him. He's gonna go all the fucking places with or without a bloodline around him. But I mean, within the context of
his first promo last Friday, and it was incredibly good.
I told you, man, he's got fire in him. Like he's had it. But now if they're finally getting people a taste of what he can offer, like, I mean, really, the sky's the limit for him. He's a generational, in my opinion. He's freakishly good, and he's shown with losing the weight and stuff that he has since coming over from MLW. Like he's willing to do whatever it takes to get to the top and stay there, and he's going to get there sooner than later. I mean, not like that tippity top before WrestleMania, mind you, but like post 41, who's to say where he ends up and how quick he gets there, But but then the question, like,
the tag
back on Survivor Series.
Yeah, the tag champs, Solo, Jacob, The Rock. I think it's what it's got to be, right? I don't know who else you bring in if not The Rock for the fifth man, especially with him coming out at Bad Blood. Like, I think introducing another new guy to the bloodline now would be disappointing almost compared to just
the only person I would see would be Hikuleo as just like a one-off.
Yeah, but even then, it's like sometimes it feels like you're just going too far with how many people you're bringing into it. Then it's like, what, The Rock is gonna be like, oh, this is my guy. This is my guy. He's gonna do it for me. He's gonna do it for The Rock.
Not bringing in Rikishi.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We got 7 weeks for that. We'll be talking about what goes on, each week when we're on here. We'll be doing a precursor for Crown Jewel when that happens. I'm sure Pierce will love that show.
Do I have to be here?
Yep.
But
that covers Bad Blood.
Two-way.
That covers Bad Blood for 2024. Weird bookend show. Very hot first match. That was clearly the best match of the night. The middle part was just dead. The ending was, interesting.
It legit started as an A+ and just went to a B-. It just kept sliding down and down and down. You could even make the argument that it was like a C. Just
B-, C+.
Really, the whole. I mean, I'd say like B, B-, but C, oof da. That's a bit harsh.
That middle card of the part was pretty stinky.
I feel like that's kind of been a trend too. Like with the recent string of PLEs, it's been 5 matches. You have something hot to open, and then the middle's just kind of, it's cool, like something you put in a microwave or like a hot pocket. It's just hot on the outsides, cool on the insides, which I guess you want, right? But I mean, I feel like if there was one match they could have gotten rid of off that card, it probably would have been the Nia Bailey match. They probably could have made room for like
Damian Finn could have been on Raw.
Yeah, I would have preferred them getting rid of Damian and Finn.
Then throw in the tag title ladder match in the middle of the card. That would have been the perfect spark to get everybody back into it.
Or even better, that make the fucking triple threat, the United States title match with LA Knight, Carmelo, and Andrade.
Yeah,
because they've been killing it on TV for that whole series they've had. So I felt like Bad Blood would have been a great blow off for that, and it would have been a great, way to send.
That's definitely happening in Crown Jewel because Saudis love their LA night. There's no way he's going to be off another card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, this is true. I would agree with that.
Damn it, Brandon.
That is a valid assertion.
We had a thing going.
Yeah, that's just as bad as saying the Fed.
Oh, come on. Now you're playing dirty.
Well, he's Dirty Donnie G.
This is true.
All right, guys, let's.
This is how I'm going to intro you from now on.
Let's transition into Wrestledream. Wrestledream's coming up this Saturday, October 12th, out of Tacoma, Washington. Second ever Wrestledream to commemorate the life of Antonio Inoki, founder of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Tony wants to throw on a bunch of matches. Now, how these correlate, we'll see as we start talking about them. But there's currently 11 matches.
There's one match I could have had that would be perfect for Inoki, but Tony Khan had to Tony Khan it. We'll get to there when we get to there.
Well, we'll get to there when we get to there. But I'm going to read these top to bottom, starting with the highly anticipated singles match for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. Atlantis Jr. versus Brian Cage.
I thought you were talking about something else.
No, we'll get to that. Don't worry. But no, the first match on my list is Atlantis Jr. versus Brian Cage.
It's obviously Atlantis Jr. Pierce.
Does anybody care about this match?
I think it'll probably be fun. Two good wrestlers.
Yeah. I mean, Brian Cage has been very good with the Lucha guys. He's obviously been in Mexico and Lucha Underground. He's a good big bass guy who can also do flippy stuff. That being said, I think Atlantis Jr. wins this match.
I know nothing about either of these guys, basically, so we're just going to say champion retains.
Brian Cage is the machine, man.
I know Brian Cage.
Who better than Cage?
I know, and I actually don't mind Brian Cage, but he's not winning.
The man who trained him.
Now, this next match deserves a... Yes, thank you. Sorry. This one deserves a 20-minute discussion. Singles match for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Mark Briscoe defending against...
Donnie, I'm going to fly up to Canada and give you a beating like they did in the Fed in the 1990s.
Chris Jericho, the Learning Tree, accompanied by Big Bill and Brian Keith.
If Briscoe loses, I'll riot.
He probably will.
I mean, there's one thing that the Briscoes don't stand for, and it's insulting dead family members. So I'm hoping that's enough for Mark to pull through and actually beat Chris Jericho. I mean, it'd be a damn shame if Chris were to get a second Ring of Honor World Champ or any championship at this juncture of his career. Like, this should be like full learning tree mode in that, like, you're getting other guys to learn around you, and you're not like, shattering people's dreams or like just being a general piece of shit, unwanted leech on the roster who's devaluing titles further than they need to be. But
yeah, I think Mark Briscoe wins. I mean, I'm just going to say this really quick. I think Mark Briscoe wins. I would be surprised if Big Bill turns on Chris Jericho in this as well. I don't see any reason to keep Big Bill with Jericho at this point. Crowd's too hot for him.
Otherwise, if this isn't the appropriate place to turn, because I haven't been following as much recently, and I don't know how Big Bill's been like looking at Jericho recently, if he's like giving him stink eye or whatever. But I mean,
really, but
I feel like the conglomeration factors into this in some way, shape, or form. They're not announced to be out there with Mark, but I feel like they're going to even the odds, and that's where you're going to see kind of this comeback kid style story with Mark. At least I hope, I pray to God.
Mark needs to win with a J Driller. Simple as that.
And if Jericho's neck gets broken in the processing,
Oh, come on. That's not right.
well,
We'll
That's
go
not
that far,
right.
but maybe he just, gets
okay, maybe I was exaggerating a smidge.
We don't wish
Yeah, just
any
gets a
injuries
stinger.
upon any talent.
No, you're right. It's Chris Jericho.
We want him off the TV, but we want him off the TV healthy.
If he
Going
comes
into
up, fine.
retirement and going and doing his podcast, which I haven't listened to in like 2 years.
Sure. And he can go tour with Fozzy some more.
He can come on our
Right.
podcast if he wants.
Next match.
I don't know. I might have just threatened him. I might have just wished it on him.
Definitely not happening.
But no, he can come out.
Yeah,
he
we're
can
not
come out in a
building. We're
work
not building
brace.
to the Brandon Chris Jericho match at Full Gear at all.
No. Fine, he can come out in a work neck brace. I'll compromise on that. Jay Driller, neck brace. Boom.
Darby Allin versus
All
Brody
right.
King.
I'm fine with this match, but why is it happening? Why? Darby should be getting his world title run. Instead, he just faces the guy he fights forever.
Yeah, it's
Probably a banger.
his annual Brody King match.
Probably a banger. Darby wins.
Yep, agree.
Yeah, this is going to be another David versus Goliath with Darby. Brody also another really good guy for the littler guys to base off of, and Darby's going to take his fucking liberties with him, as he will. It's going to be really hard hitting, and Darby I feel like is going to prove his mettle in this, and it's going to probably just end up putting him right back in world title contention. I know, Pierce, you've been a really strong proponent of Darby in the world title picture.
Yeah. I genuinely think, people were saying that Jay was more popular than Hardy in 08, and nobody was more popular than Hardy in 08. But, like, in my eyes, Darby is the closest thing to a Jeff Hardy that we have today. The way he bumps, the way he wrestles, he resonates with the kids a lot. Like, he was just at that kid. He showed up at a kid's birthday party just because and taught them on a coffin drop. And, like, unlike
So they don't
Jeff,
believe in the "don't try this at home" thing over in AEW
they were doing
land?
it into a foam pit. So, I mean, they weren't
Starts
doing
in a
it to
foam
each other, Donnie.
It starts in a foam pit.
Yeah, and maybe that guy's the next AEW champion in 20 years. You never
It's
know.
the gateway spot.
But, like, unlike Jeff, Darby can cut a really good promo. And I mean, when he won his shot at for what was it, Grand Slam, and then he just had to give it up because Jon Moxley needs a world title shot, which he could just ask for. It's,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just want to see Darby taken seriously.
Well, and I mean, it's a pure coincidence, right? Or it's almost poetic that he would be facing Bryan Danielson in this, because you think of how many times in WWE we saw Bryan, getting beaten down, looking for opportunities and chances, and eventually he comes to the spot where he always needed to be. So we probably will see something similar with Darby, I'd have to imagine, because you figure, like, did Guevara get a shot at the world title? Because if that's the case, he's the only one of the pillars.
No, they did. They had the Pillars 4-way match.
Yeah, they have all had a
Oh,
shot.
sure they did. That's true. But, like, I'm thinking even like one-on-one, because Perry had his
Darby
recently.
does not.
Darby's had one. Darby had one in like the first year of Dynamite.
Oh, well, I didn't follow along at that point, so he
Don't
faced
follow
Jericho.
along now, Donnie.
I do. I know Chris Jericho is great. Come on.
Yeah, he lost to Jericho.
Yeah. Okay. See, there you go. He's great. Uh,
So how about Jack Perry versus Katsuyori Shibata?
yeah, that's exactly where I'm at next. Jack Perry defends the AEW TNT Championship against Katsuyori Shibata.
Shibata's going to slap the shit out of him, but Perry's going to win.
Yep.
It's setting up for Danny Garcia, I have to believe.
Yep.
Now that they finally got him under lock and key.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next up, Will Ospreay defends the AEW International Championship in a triple threat match against Ricochet and Konosuke Takeshita. Pierce, tell us
Okay,
what
can
you
I
think
have a
about this
moment?
match. Yes, of course.
Can I have a moment, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
What happened to Okada versus Takeshita? That is the most Antonio Inoki match that they could have had. That is strong style personified between two incredible Japanese wrestlers. You have the up and coming Japanese star in America and a legitimate Japanese wrestling legend, maybe the greatest Japanese wrestler of all time, not named Antonio Inoki, but instead they just have to do callous bullshit. I'm sure this is going to be match of the night. Ospreay's probably going to retain by pinning Ricochet. They could have Takeshita win. I really doubt it, but this is just it. It was ass backwards booking.
I agree. I agree with you 100% on that, and I've echoed that sentiment with you, Pierce. Is like the international championship is very fitting for Takeshita. However, this is not the time. Like they're building for Okada forever. It seems like now, and I mean, right? What other relevant opponents is Okada going to have going forward for the Continental Championship? Like this,
Okada's
this
not
was
even
the
on the
time,
fucking show.
Nope.
which is crazy. How do you have an Inoki inspired show and not have Kazuchika Okada on the show?
Ask Tony Khan. Could have been in his
Tony,
press
come on the
conference
podcast. We
today.
have a couple of questions.
You
No,
know,
I mean, he just had
some
his media hosted presser today. You could have asked him then instead of asking, why is AEW so successful?
Yeah, but he's just gonna give. Well, I think that AEW is in this great spot, and that we're really great, and that our ratings are great, and that I'm great, and that I say great 400 times in a sentence, so people don't really know that I'm dying inside. Did I nail it, guys? Or
I'm trying to see if there's a list of questions that were asked to him. I'm trying to see. No, there was nothing asked about why Okada wasn't on the card.
I mean, it's gonna be they're talking not kayfabe there, so it's.
I mean, the Max deal speaks for itself. He must be doing something right. Yeah,
Right.
everything's going great.
That deal is fine. That deal is really good, and I hope they continue to grow from it. But man, this one just annoys the hell out of me. Again,
When you have that logical resolution, just hangs in the air like that.
probably gonna be fucking 400 stars from Meltzer.
I'm just trying to look at like some of the stuff here from that actual press conference. He would not confirm or deny whether Warner Brothers Discovery has an ownership equity piece in AEW. So there's that. But other than that, it was all a bunch of nonsense from the questions that Sean Ross Sapp had listed from that.
Well, it's Sean Ross Sapp, so.
Next match, Young Bucks defend the AEW World Tag Team Championships against Private Party.
I would like Private Party to win. Like, I'd really, really like them to win.
That's not going to happen.
They've been AEW day oneers.
So have the Young Bucks.
I don't care about.
I feel like that's not the most valid point.
I'm just being difficult. Young Bucks retain.
Really? You're being difficult, Donnie?
Yeah. You got me all heated
difficult,
up ever since that.
Dangerous Don.
Ever since you said Fed at the beginning of the show, I was like, all right, this guy's going to get it from me tonight.
Sharpening the dagger.
I was going to mail you some nice beer, but you forget it, mister.
Kiss that new Glarus goodbye.
I would like to see Private Party get a run. They've earned it. They won't, and I still won't care about the Bucks after the fact.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. My fear is that they'll be kind of like the infantry was doing in Ring of Honor, where it's like they get shots and they're like the people's team, but at the end of the day, like they just come up short.
They are? They're 2020's Enzo and Cass.
Yep.
The Private Party? You'd put them up there?
I
I
mean,
mean, maybe.
on the
Popular,
AEW
but
scale, yeah, they'll eventually win. I think. I think it'll probably happen at a more relevant card as well than this.
We would hope so.
I think they do inevitably become champions, but I don't think it's from the Young Bucks, and I don't think it's on Saturday.
it'd be cool
I
if
mean,
it was.
if they were gonna beat the Bucks, it'd probably be at one of like their bigger pay-per-views, like Full Gear or something like
Yeah,
that,
Double
right?
or
But
Nothing, something like that. Yeah,
Revolution, but yeah, Wrestledream kind of seems a
not
little out there. They'll put
Wrestle
up a good match, though. They'll put up a good match.
Yes, I agree. Mariah May defends the AEW Women's World Championship against Willow Nightingale.
I mean, Mariah retains. Probably
Yep.
gonna be fun.
Yep.
She's not losing the title anytime soon.
Nope. It'll be a good match.
Yeah,
I think that'll be a worthwhile match to watch.
Yeah, my heart really wants Willow Nightingale to win though because she's been super fucking impressive over this last year. I think, right, kind of like a private party, like the people would be behind her. Obviously, like there's still a lot of unresolved stuff with Tony Storm. I think once Tony comes back, that's still got to have its due, right? Like Mariah's still probably going to have the belt at the time. But that's being said too, like on her own, Mariah is also doing really, really well. And I don't think anyone should be surprised by that if you followed along with her work like in Japan and especially going off of, recent. So it's going to be close, but Mariah, I can see unfortunately coming out of this. My heart still wants it for Willow though.
Hangman Adam Page versus Jay White. That's the
Jay
next
White
one.
needs to win this.
He's not going to.
I think he's going to. I mean, you can make the argument that Hangman shouldn't take a loss, but I think realistically, it would help his character psyche is just so fucking shattered right now that him taking a loss will break him even more, and it gets Jay closer and closer to King Switch with the AEW World Title, which I think is going to happen, and I'm all for it. I'm glad Jay White's back. I want to see him get his serious run as King Switch.
I don't.
At the expense of Brian Danielson, though.
Yeah, I don't think
Well, if there's
Hangman
anybody
should
that
be
would-
losing here. You had such a hot feud with him and Swerve, and he wins the payoff, and the next thing you're gonna do is have him lose to Jay White. Like, I think that just like
On the note of
immediately shifts Adam Page in reverse, and I don't think that's what you want to do when you put that much effort into a feud just a month or so ago.
On that note, though, Swerve will be in the building. They already did confirm that, so he'll be at WrestleDream. What capacity? Who's to say?
He's going to be recruited by Bobby Lashley, or not recruited by Bobby Lashley.
I think Switch wins. It's very much this is the most toss-up match on the card. I think realistically, but like neither man can afford a loss, and if Switch loses, he just becomes it deflates his return. And I get what you're saying, Donnie, but I think the character of Hangman Page can take a loss because of how psychologically fucking broken he is. You know what I mean? It'll just deepen that character arc.
And then you can also play out like the physical damage that he's taken from that match. Maybe he's not 100% even after all of that time. There's something that.
In fairness, Jay's coming off an injury though, so he would have the ring rust thing too. So I don't know how well that sticks, but
it doesn't even need to be like that, like convincing of a win. He doesn't need to hit him with like 3 fucking what's his finisher? Is it just called the Switchblade or Blade Runner?
Blade Runner.
It's okay. He'll win with a roll up.
Yeah, he could win with a roll up or an inside cradle, and that would fucking make Hangman go crazy, and he's gonna murder another person. You know what I mean?
Just like how Tony D won the North American title last night over.
Yeah,
Ope-Eh.
that was awesome, especially how he like shifted to make it like a deeper cover. I thought that was really cool.
I had to bring that up at some point in the show because that was a big moment on NXT last night.
And I'm doing that Italian finger thing.
The Paisan hand wave, yeah. The Don. In another breathtakingly anticipated matchup, we have MXM Collection versus the Acclaimed.
I actually am looking forward to that one. I think it's going to be a fun match.
Yeah, I think that's just going to be fun.
It's all it has to be, right? Like, I mean, you know who the Acclaimed are, you know who MXM are. It was going to happen sooner or later.
I don't think it really matters who wins.
I don't know why this one isn't on the show.
I mean, it's just something to put the air back in the sails. You know, there's probably going to be a lot that's going to happen with the previous matches. Just something to kind of give a little bit of levity to the night. You know,
just fun.
It ain't got to be heavy.
It's just going to end in a scissor.
That's all it has to do, really. And it would be perfectly suited.
Donnie, you don't have to watch. You can watch the Fed all you want.
I will be watching hockey, so I will not be watching the show on Saturday.
I'm going to get a drink with somebody, so I'll keep up with it on my phone.
Brandon, will you be watching live on Saturday or no?
I can't say that I will be. No, I've got some Planskis. We'll just put it that way.
I'll be watching hockey. I'm going up north, so yeah. Marta is definitely not allowing me. I'm taking her up north for we got a birthday getaway thing. And if I told her we're not doing anything tonight, I need to watch Wrestledream. You will not see me coming to any sort of wrestling events again after that. So yeah, definitely not watching. But
we'll be making it two-way.
Yeah.
What is up north for you, Donnie?
It's like cottage country. You know, so we're taking a couple hour drive up north. It's it's gonna be a little cold, but it's normally very it's got a rustic feel to it. They have outdoor resorts where you get the full you get the lake and you get hiking trails and all that kind of stuff.
Would like some pictures, please.
I will do my best.
I will message Marta to take pictures for me.
Okay, that sounds like a more successful plan on you.
It's called Cottage City? Is it in Ontario?
No, cottage country is a slang for it. The city or the town is Muskoka.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Muskoka there, baby? You know,
I might also go see. You know what else I might do this weekend? I might go see Terrifier 3.
Okay.
Oh yeah, 'tis the season.
It's gonna be so gruesome.
We do have 2 more matches we got to talk about, and one of them might be gruesome. And that match would be Hologram versus the Beast Mortos in a 2 out of 3 falls match.
Lucha Excellence. That's all it's going to be.
That was a hell of a segue.
Lucha Gruesome Excellence.
I hope Mortos goes over, personally. I mean, people have been giving Hologram a lot of shit for his look and his gimmick since he started. Being like, oh, is that just Ricochet in the mask? You know, even before Ricochet obviously showed up, but I mean, not to say me.
Homegrown, this is the first gimmick of AEW besides the Dark Order. You know what I mean? This was their they made this character. It wasn't all these other people that have characters coming together to become something. This is their first homegrown character that I can think of. You know what I mean? There's nothing. Hologram is one of one, and I'm sure Mortos will go over, especially now that he's with Jack the Sneck. But I'm sure it's just going to be excellent. What was that, Donnie?
Match made in heaven. I wonder if Hologram will be straddled with a snake.
Yes.
Very good.
Can only hope.
And then what will almost definitely be the main event, Bryan Danielson defends the AEW World Championship against Jon Moxley, accompanied by Marina Shafir. Had to throw that in there.
Naturally.
I think it's just going to be brutal technical violence. I think Danielson retains. Moxley should not win the title.
Agree. Hard agree.
Yeah, you fucking Ambrose lover.
No, it's just Moxley's character's boring.
Yeah, and you want him to go back to Wacky Dean and the Fed.
No, I just don't want to see him on TV. He doesn't interest me at all.
You
Oh,
want to see Wacky Dean versus Austin Theory in the WrestleMania main event in like
Why are we
5 years
dragging Austin Theory into this? First of all, I want nothing to do with
Maybe
Austin
for
Theory in the main event of
the
WrestleMania.
Federation Championship.
Oh God.
maybe they're
Brandon,
building for Austin Theory to be the higher power. Maybe they pull a little bit of a Rick Rude stunt. You know, maybe Austin Theory's.
that's what you think Donnie wants is Wacky Dean versus Austin Theory for the Fed title?
I just don't want to see mud show garbage John Moxley anymore.
This is
I don't think
interesting John Moxley right now.
this ain't gonna be mud show Mox. This is. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of nods to his lordship through this match. I feel like it's gonna be an homage more than anything.
This
I
is
mean,
technical New Japan Mox.
I don't think so.
yeah, Danielson and Mox, I think are gonna bring the best out of each other in this match. Personally, I feel like if there's two guys you can go, if there's one guy you can expect to go against Mox and bring out the best in him, Danielson, bar none.
Danielson does that with most people, in fairness.
Right.
In fairness, yes.
Brian fucking Danielson.
But the good news is you got like the storyline, right? You have the two founding members of the BCC finally butting heads after, how personal Mox has made this. Arguably one of the most personal feuds that Danielson has had since he's been back in AEW. And right, I feel like people kind of undersell Mox's technical capacity. Obviously, he's a very violent guy, and it's not the first thing you would expect, but he can pull some stuff out when he needs to. And I feel like in a match with Danielson, he's gonna pull out the tools. I feel like he's gonna pull out the stops. It's gonna be a great match. 5-star?
No.
No. I think Mox passes out in defeat. I don't think I see him getting pinned or tapping. I think he's in the label lock and then he just fades.
It's possible.
Probably bleeds out like a stuck pig.
Do we get Christian Cage involved in this?
I think we hear some sort of money song and a man dances down and attacks Bryan Danielson.
And wins the AEW World Championship.
And that man is the best wrestler in the world, Shane McMahon.
You think Shane debuts?
I think... I don't know if Shane debuts. That's just me, taking the piss out of it. But I think, if that's what they're leading to, with the this is not your company anymore. You got me?
Yes. What happened there? Was that me? That couldn't have been me. It's never me.
I have no idea. My ping shot up crazy, so I just disconnected, reconnected.
Yeah, now you're good. Where's Brandon?
Are we still
Jericho?
live now?
Jericho must have heard me making threats and put the code in.
Yeah, because I couldn't hear any of you for a while, but I don't know if Brandon was even trying to talk or what. But
no, it was you boys were just like tinny tin tin. I was just waiting for.
I didn't hear any Brandon.
All good. Okay, we got to figure it out.
We still doing it live, boys?
Yeah. We're still doing it live. Okay,
Hey!
So
we are live.
Shane McMahon debuts potentially.
Like I was saying before, my ping went out the fucking window. It's clear that he loves wrestling and he loves the business. If he comes back, either with AEW or WWE. I'd be happy to see him back.
My question has always been through all of this, and with the speculation, is that how does Shane McMahon tie into the spirit of what John Moxley is trying to do here? Like, what is the link?
Money.
He's trying to bring back the Attitude Era.
Holy fuck! If that was actually the gimmick, he had this one idea that never could go over with Vince, and it just happens to be
just murder.
John Moxley's idea of unleashed violence or whatever the hell is catchphrase was in New Japan.
I'm not going to
Well.
pretend to know how we can bridge the gap, but we'll see.
get there when we get there.
That's it for that card, and I think that's mostly it for our show, especially with our internet's telling us we're running out of time here. Anything else you guys want to cover tonight before we send her home?
I got nothing.
I had something. I'll come up with it on next week's podcast. So it'll be all right.
All right.
We'll have time.
I'll try and trim out all that jargon that happened in between there. I should be able to clip it out, but if I can't, then people can hear some weird pingy noises. But Brandon, how about we pitch the socials again for everybody before we say goodnight?
Yeah, sure. Why not? So, I mean, as you folks all know, we have our Facebook account. You can find me, shooting some flames out there, agitating some of you, maybe, engaging in some enlightening conversation. It's all wrestling. It's all fun, right? Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on X. Join us for our live pitter patter and our live chitter chatter on Raw, SmackDown, PLEs, PPVs, Dynamite, whatever we happen to be watching that day. You can watch right along with. Love to be talking with you fine folks. Love to be having you along with us on this great wrestling journey towards hopefully some press passes, get us come along with us as we make our way towards WrestleMania 41. We're planning us a little trip ski out there. Hopefully we can take some of you guys along.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Those tickets go on sale in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
2 weeks from today, actually. So we're gonna have to get our ducks in a row for that.
On our socials, it's saying that we need to do some reels. I think Brandon would be great for one of his lead-in statuses to make a reel for that. Maybe for episode 13 next week, if we're doing an episode, we'd get a reel. I think that'd be fun.
A little homage to Taz with the lucky number 13. Hope he gets well soon. Who knows who attacked him in the parking lot? It couldn't have been his son Hook, who's vehemently looking for his attacker currently. At least I pray to God that's not how that shit turns out. Like, I haven't seen that one too many times.
That'd be Hook. I did it for Hook.
What did we have on schedule for? I don't see any pinned messages anymore, so I don't know what our schedule is supposed to be. We were talking about doing some spooky shows, but that might not be till closer to the end of the month. Do we know what we're doing next week?
Next week was Wrestledream and Hot Takes.
Ooh, I think a hot take show would be fun.
Yeah, I can whip up something spicy.
Yeah, like
you boys already know.
Calling WWE the Fed. That's a hot take.
That is not a hot take. That's a
or haphazardly wishing career-threatening injury on somebody.
Yeah.
on a live air. Yeah, I probably shouldn't.
If there was a show for us to get canceled, if there was a show to get us canceled, it was going to be this one.
I'll put some milk on that spice. I'm a dull that down just a smidge. I feel.
Yeah. Once again, we do not want anybody to get injured for the sake of our entertainment. Jeez.
Unless, no, I'm just kidding.
No.
Never mind. I never said nothing.
We'll figure out some good hot takes though to get us through a little bit of a lull period, and we'll talk about Crown Jewel. We might do a little bit of a spooky show.
It's spooky enough talking about Crown Jewel.
Oh, send us home, Pierce. Send us home.
Jeez. Tell me how you really feel, Tommy. Well, thanks as always for stopping into the Ope-Eh three-way. Have a beer on us. We'll see you next time. Go Pack, go.